I make over 10,000 every single month from TikTok edits, and I promise you I'm not selling you a course in this video. I'm going to be walking you guys through everything you need to know to get started, all the tutorials and edits that I use to make this kind of money, and how to avoid all the mistakes I made early on so that you can just jumpstart right into it. Let's get started. So for a little bit more context about myself, I run the account Mitchell HQ. I've got about 180,000 followers and 25 million likes with multiple videos, well over 1 million views, 5 million views, 10 million views. And I thought what would be better than hopping on here and sharing with you guys what worked for me and how to start making a lot of money off of TikTok. Some more credentials that I have. I just went to a TikTok event, so here's my badge on that. It was a sports experience event, so just letting you know you're not taking instructions from a random. So let's get into the actual editing part. All right, so here we are in After Effects. You don't have to use After Effects, but you will need an editing application. CapCut's been really good. You can totally do this on CapCut. I do recommend After Effects. It's what, a lot of the bigger editors use, and you'll get way high quality content and have, more opportunities to make money. So we will start on After Effects, and the number one thing you need to do is you have to pick a niche. So for me, it's sports edits. I make football edits, basketball edits, stuff like that. But you guys can totally do movie edits. I know a lot of people do movie edits. I know a lot of people make money off the movie edits. So that's another thing. You could do something like education, but for me, I'd really try to stick to, the top two sports and movie editors. So let's get into it. So let's start with our composition. So the number one thing is, make sure you're in 60 FPS. That's a super high quality thing. And, even the number one thing above everything else is you have to make sure your video is over a minute long. TikTok will not pay you if it's not over a minute. And I know a lot of you might think it's hard to make videos over a minute, especially edits, but we'll get into it. It's not as hard as you think. And just make sure it's 100% over a minute. So I do 1 minute, 3 seconds, but I cut it at the end. So it's really only like a minute and 1 second. Another thing is make sure your aspect ratio is it fits the screen pretty big. So a lot of people I see, they do like 1:1, so it's just a square in the middle of the screen, and it leaves a lot of black space. So this could work, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I'll click here. This is basically, it basically fills up the whole screen. On TikTok, it kind of cuts it out right before like the following and for you things at the top of the page, which, it works out pretty good. It fills up most of the screen. Not really a lot of negative space. You really want to avoid the negative space. Okay, now I'm cutting over to an actual edit that I just made. I made this about a week ago, and I'm just going to show you guys the format that I use, or like the storytelling, to make sure this video gets over a minute, to make sure that it's high quality, and to make sure you'll get paid out a lot for it. So I start this video out with an announcer talking. Now, for sports videos, obviously you just need to do this. You need to find an announcer, you need to find an analyst talking about an upcoming game or about a player that just had a really good performance. So obviously this was about Alabama and Georgia, so I had someone previewing the game as it's a hype video for the game. I posted this a couple days before the game. So we'll listen in on the first 10 seconds or so of this video to get the general idea of what you're really looking for.
Alabama at Georgia, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, kickoff on ABC. Let me set the table for you. This game happened last year. It was a 5-Chalai classic.
Okay, so I have this guy talking at the very start. This is obviously just the first cut, so I don't have any of the text on it or captions, but we will talk about captions later, one of the biggest parts of the video. So obviously we're looking for this, and as we go throughout the video, this is just a highlight of the game last year. But as we get into this end part, you really only want to make the talking like 30-35 seconds so that you can go into your edit in the next 20 seconds. A lot of people think it's really hard to make these videos 1 minute long. Sometimes it can be, but for the most part, it's really not. So I'll show you this end part right here. This is right before I cut into the edit. So you want to have something like hype going on at the end of the edit. So you'll see here in a second when I start playing this that it kind of leads up to the edit. But for movie stuff, maybe you want to put in like the best quote of the movie and then have an edit of like, the main character of the movie or whoever says it. So I'll show this part really quick.
Georgia. I feel like I love it during that game. We got number 17 Alabama at number 5 Georgia.
Okay. So then it cuts into the edit part, and a lot of things that I see with editors is they over edit their videos. People do not want to see this. Viewers at home that are watching your video, they do not want to see you throw shakes and these huge effects on your videos. Because for us editors, yeah, we see it and we're like, okay, that's a really cool edit. But for people that are at home and aren't editors and don't know what you're doing, they just want to see something simple. They want to see something clean. They want to see something high quality. So you definitely do not want to do anything like that. So I'm going to show you this part. Obviously, again, I've said it 3 times. It's an Alabama-Georgia edit, so I have an edit of both players from teams. But for a movie edit or just a one-player edit, you would just show, you know, the one player. Okay, so it's a little offbeat because my computer is horrendous, but for the most part, I just have the clip slowed down if it's not already slowed down, and then I just have a slow zoom in. And I'll show you guys how to do this in a second. But for the most part, you just want to have something that looks clean and that looks like an edit. You don't need to do all this shake stuff. Sometimes I'll throw in a little shake on the first parts of the clip if it's like really like heavy audio, I guess is the word. Like it has a lot of beats in it. The Father Stretch My Hands, like this song doesn't really have you don't really need to throw shakes in it. So anyways, so I'll show you how to do this. So for one thing, you probably need this flow plugin. You can get this on After Effects. You can find it somewhere. Okay, so I hope that gives you guys the general idea of like the formatting of the first part. If you have any questions, you guys can totally drop them in the comments and I'll let you know. But let's cut over to like how I do the zoom ins and stuff like that. Okay, so now we're over here. So I'm using these Tom Brady clips. I just made a Tom Brady video, so it's just what I have right now. If you're making any sports videos, totally go check out Twizy Logo List. They have clips of every single NFL, NBA, NHL player that you could ever make a video on. And then for movie edits, if that's what you're doing, there's plenty of other accounts like that on Instagram or even YouTube that you can just look up clips for edits and you'll find a bunch of clips of anybody. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a good clip. So if you want to fill the thing easy, like you can obviously click scale and you can, you know, move it up and stuff. Sorry, my computer's really slow. But what I do is I just do Shift, Control, Alt, and G all at the same time, and it merges it together. Okay, so we're going to take the sound off of that because we don't want, you know, player sound in the background. So let's find a good clip. I want to find a good slowed down, high quality clip. You have to make sure your videos are high quality. Now, a lot of these, you know, they're not the best high quality. And if you're making sports videos, do not use any clips with the scoreboard. It just looks weird. Do not do it. Just use clips like these. That's not a bad clip. But for your first clip, since I'm suggesting that this is your first clip, you want to find one of the best clips. That's a pretty good clip. We'll just use this one, even though he's in a practice jersey. I wouldn't normally use this one because he's in a weird practice jersey. But, so I'll make this about, let's say 2 seconds. You just want to make it off your beat. So obviously I don't have a sound right now to create it off of, but I'm just going to make it 2 seconds for this example. So then I'm going to slow it down. So what I do is I do Control Alt T, and that opens the time remapping. I'm going to put a keyframe at the very first of the clip. You can click I to go to the very first frame of your clip, and then I click O to go to the end of the clip, and then I put another keyframe. And then I go up here to flow. You can do this without flow, this plugin that I have at the top up here, but it makes it a little harder. So just look up if you're using After Effects, just use flow. On CapCut, you can do it on there's like the little speed chart. If you click speed and then you go to custom slowdown, you can do this as well. But you want to make a graph like this. So I have a smooth preset. So you want the first part to be pretty fast, second part to be also pretty fast, and then the middle to be slow. So I'm going to click apply right here. And as you see, like he's kind of going to slow down in the middle. So it makes it really like, it works super well for the editing style we're going for. And then we're going to click this button right here, this frame blending, twice, right next to the video layer down here. There should be a button, frame blending. It's 2 squares. You want to click it twice so that it turns into an arrow. And what this will do, it's going to take a second. Like I said, my computer's really slow. This takes a second to load because it adds like motion blur kind of. It makes it really, really smooth. And you really want that. See, like it's slowing it down super well. It's making it look really good and really high quality. So it's not choppy or anything, which we're really trying to avoid. Any choppiness in any of the video, please do not put it in there. So that's our final result. So obviously I'm gonna put them more in the middle just for the sake of things here. And now we're gonna do the scale. So what you gotta do is you're gonna right click on this. I don't think you'd have to do this on CapCut. This is more just an After Effects tutorial. But if you are following along on CapCut, try to just work out what would be the best through this. So then pre-compose, and you want to click this button right here, the second one down, and then the checkbox right here. Then we're going to click OK. So now this kind of sets your clip in stone. And then we're going to click S for scale, do our first keyframe, same thing, I, first keyframe, O, last keyframe. We're going to put another one there. And then what I usually like to do is I want to make it about 150 or so, just so there's a clear zoom in. And then we're going to highlight those again, just drag your mouse, and then we're going to do the same keyframe. If I'm going a little too fast, just pause the video for a couple of these, and then we're going to watch that back. And you can see it kind of zooms in now. Now this is a little bit of a longer clip, so it looks kind of weird, but for the most part, it doesn't really look that weird. Actually, it looks pretty good. So that's what you want to do. And you just want to have like 30 clips or so of just like, well, not 30 clips, but however many the beat aligns. Sometimes I repeat clips. So I'm actually going to leave an example of one of my videos right here. I'm going to play it in a second just so you guys can kind of figure out what I'm trying to get at right now. Okay, so I'm back on this Alabama Georgia video. This is the final product. I'm going to show you guys how to do all this in a second, but I again just wanted to show you guys the exact format that I'm going for here. All the text, overlays, effects, and stuff like that. So let's just watch this really quick and I'll walk you guys through everything.
Alabama at Georgia, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. Let me set the table for you. This game happened last year. It was a 5-Chalai classic.
So I am very strict on using the captions. You have to throw captions in your video. It's one of the most important things. A lot of people say people read faster than they watch, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. It keeps the watcher, the viewer, locked in on your video, and it will just help your video do better. So like you just saw right here, this is how I do my transitions. I either do a very small shake or a camera flash. And like I said before, you just really do not want to over edit these videos. People do not understand a bunch of the effects and stuff, so just keeping it as clean, as clean, as simple as possible really helps the video do better.
Classic.
Gotta have it right now.
So that's the main shake transition I use. Most of the time I don't use that one. I use this camera flash transition that I'm about to show you. But for the format, again, you really just want to show something that gives the viewer context of the video. So with the videos I make, I really try to tell a story throughout the video. Like this one, Alabama and Georgia had played the year before. It was a crazy game, and I was really just trying to make a video on the upcoming game, because who knows, maybe it is going to be crazier than last year's game. So I'm really just trying to aid viewers that don't know the full context of the video, just trying to help them understand the video further. So obviously this was just a clip from last year's game. I'll sim forward a little bit. And then here you'll see the camera flash transition that I mainly use. I'll show you guys how to do this and all the other transitions, as well as the text. Basically everything in this video, I'll show you how to do.
This is a rematch.
So that's the main one I use. I just use a white flash with the camera noise sound effect, and I'll again show you how to do that. And then I just want to show you this last part. It's just going to be, you know, for the format and how to do everything, and then I'll tell you how to do it.
I feel like I levitated during that game. We got number 17 Alabama at number 5 Georgia.
Beautiful morning, you're the sun of my morning bed.
Okay, so like I showed, you know, it just leads up to the clips, and then you just do the slow and the zoom, like I showed you guys previously. But again, we'll get into all the effects and stuff to make it look way better, because just the zoom and the slow is obviously not going to be enough. Okay, so I usually split my videos into 2 projects. I usually do the clips on one project, and then I export it, and then I bring that brand new video of all of my clips merged together, all the commentary, into one piece, and then I put the text on it, transitions, stuff like that. So this will probably be really slow. My computer is very slow, so I apologize in advance. So let's start at the very start. So this text is really the most important thing of the video. So I'm going to walk you guys through that right now. Okay, so to make this text, we're going to go up here to this T tool up here. And we're going to click anywhere, it doesn't matter, and then just type something out. So I'll do Alabama at Georgia. But again, you want this to be whatever the person is saying. So whatever the commenter is saying, whatever the movie character is saying, sports player, you just want it to be what they're saying. You just want to add captions under the video. So I like doing some punctuation stuff, like I'll put, let me switch the font on this. I use Helvetica font. I think it's the best one. I use Helvetica Bold if it will let me switch over to it. And then make sure your text is white, or you could do another color if you like, but I think white looks the best. So again, you just want to make sure it's whatever they're saying. Now I use a lot of punctuation on my videos. You don't have to do this, but I'll put like apostrophe marks and like dot dots just to add some suspense. I don't really know if it does anything, but I think it looks cool. I've been doing it for a while. Now I usually make the text about 60, somewhere in the 60 to 70s range over here. And it's pretty good. Like it keeps it not too big, not too small. But anyways, so to get into the main part, which is like it goes word by word, that's basically the main thing that everyone wants to learn. You're gonna go down here into the text and you're gonna click on the arrow that's right next to the red. You're gonna click text, or you don't really have to click text, you're just gonna click animate. And then you're gonna go to opacity and you're gonna turn this all the way down to 0. Now your text is gonna go away, that's fine. You're then gonna click the add button right here. You're gonna do property and then you're gonna do blur. I usually turn my blur up to 20. It doesn't really matter what you really turn it up to. And then we're gonna go to the range selector. This is the big guy right here. Range selector, you're gonna do start. You're gonna do a keyframe at the very start. So again, do the I for the very first frame and O for the very last frame of your clip. Again, I'm sorry if I'm walking through this fast. Feel free to pause the video at any time. So then I'll go O, and I'll go to the last clip, and then we'll do 100. And you'll see that now you have it kind of going letter by letter, which you can do. I see a lot of people do this, which works perfectly well. I'm going to make the text a little bigger so that after it completes, you have a little bit of time to see it. And then we're going to, if you don't want to do the letter by letter, you can go up here to advanced underneath range selector, and you're going to click units, or no, not units, sorry. You're going to do based on words instead of characters. And then it will go, you know, Alabama at Georgia. And again, I don't have anything to line this up to right now, but you just want to line it up to whatever the person is saying. So, you know, if they're saying, like I'll say it out, like if I'll do Alabama at Georgia, like obviously right now it's slow. So you need to make the words match up. You're just going to take this little keyframe right here and you're going to move it to where it will match up. So Alabama at Georgia. There you go. Basically matches up. Maybe I'll make it a little bit shorter. Alabama at Georgia. There you go. And you just want to keep repeating this for the text until you're done. Sometimes I'll have 20 different text layers. Mainly what I'll do is I'll just Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and then move it over. And then you'll move on to the next one and you can write whatever else you want in there. Now for the text effects, I like to put a lot of color in it. You can double click on the text layer and you can switch it to, red. Like I did red for this Georgia video because, you know, Georgia, Alabama are both red. Or you can do blue. You cannot do, well you can, it doesn't, I was gonna say you cannot do a dark color, but you can if you want. I prefer the lighter colors, so try to stick around to those. And then if you want to add a glow to it, go to effects. I do highly recommend you add a glow to it. It looks a lot better. Effects always takes a million years to load for me. I apologize again for that. I really need to get a new computer. But we'll go here and you just want to look up like glow. I think there's a normal one for, I have a bunch of presets, but there is a stylize at the bottom. This comes with After Effects for free. And you can put a glow on it and you can fix anything. If you have some more advanced plugins like BCC or Sapphire, if you're 100% new to editing, then you probably won't have these, but you can look them up, BCC or Sapphire, and these will give you better glows. Like this is what I use on, I have my own preset for my text, and it really makes it look, really good. So if you can get, you know, some of these glows, I think Deep Glow, which is the main effect that I use, is its own plugin. So if you can just get that, then it really helps with how good your text looks. So another thing you want to do is you do want to throw some fade-ins on there. Like I have, I'm going to take this glow off it just because it takes a little bit to load. I have a 100 and 200 I think this is someone's thing. I've edited it a ton, but I remember I used to use it a while ago. So I've edited mine down to 100 and 200, so it just slowly fades in at the start. It's not gonna load. There we go. And then at the end, it, you know, kind of fades out right there, just to make it a little bit more smooth. You just want to keep trying to make your video as smooth and as clean as possible. And then one last thing that I do, just to add even a little bit more, is we'll do kind of the same thing we do on the clips of zooming them in. We're going to do the first keyframe, we're going to do a scale, and the last keyframe, we're just going to do it a little bit though. So it's like 111. You're only going up a little bit. You're only making it a little bit bigger. And then you can't really see it there, but after a while it starts to add up. You can do it as much as you want, and that's just another little thing to add on to the text. So that's done with the text. If you have any questions, feel free. I know I'm not the best explainer at this, and I might be going a little bit too fast, but if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. Okay, so now we're back to this Alabama-Georgia video, which I've used as an example a lot, but it's a recent one. It's pretty good for the format that I use. So again, just going back to the text, we'll just listen to this really quick and really show how the text lines up, just for a little bit more clarification.
Alabama at Georgia, Saturday, 7th.
I guess it's a little slow, but
Alabama at Georgia.
you get the point
Saturday,
right there.
7th.
You just want to line it up with your captions. And then I throw a lot of different colors on there. Again, you don't have to do this, totally optional. But I like to throw a lot of yellow in there. I think it works really well. So now for the clips. So for the most part, you can just use people talking. Movie edits, it's a lot easier. You know, they'll always be locked in on the character that's talking. It'll be easy to, you don't have to cut as much clips. Now for this, I wanted to throw in a little bit of like, just of the players, just to give a little bit more context to the viewer. These are the teams that are playing. So I, you know, put Ryan Williams in there from Alabama and a Georgia player, and then just back to the guy. But you want to make sure, for the most part, the commentator, the analyst, the movie character is the one talking, and that is the one you're showing. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, I showed context of the last game, so this is just a game clip. It is what it is. And then back here, the commentators that I had talking in this one, I couldn't find a good quality video clip, so I just decided to do just clips of the game. Clips of the game last year and stuff like that. Just make sure it's relevant. If you're not using, you know, clips of the character talking, just make sure that it still relates to the video that you're making. So now, at the end, I do need to explain this to you guys a little bit more. So this is your main part of the video. This is where the beat drops, and this is where you'll show most of your clips. So I'll show the beat drop. So that's your main point, that's your main edit of the video. You know, a lot of this you could say it's not edits, it's just captions and stuff, but this is your main point of the video. So obviously, I say obvious a lot, I'm sorry. Alabama at Georgia. So I needed to do, it wasn't a one-sided video, it was a hype video, so I had to do both. So I had Alabama, Georgia. I just swapped off. But for a main character, like I just made a Tom Brady edit, it was just Tom Brady the whole time. You don't have to switch it up between anybody. So just make sure this part is really smooth, really clean. Sorry, you don't have to do the zooms or the slowdown. I see a lot of people not do that. But it really helps, again, make it cleaner, smoother, stuff like that. And then to make it 1 minute, for some you can, it's a little bit more effort. But like you saw earlier that I just showed you, these first 12 seconds or so are fresh, new clips, you know, edited and stuff. And then it gets to this point where the beat kind of drops again, where I just repeat the clips over again. So I'll just take all the clips and I'll put them into one little thing. And then I'll just paste them at the end of the first set of clips, and then it's just the same clips over. The beat most of the time matches up if you time it at the right time. Sorry, I was playing that while I was talking. And then at the end, you'll get to about 56. This really doesn't, like, you could get to a minute, you could get to 55. So you might not need to do this, but I throw my watermark at the end. It helps. I think I just followed a tutorial somewhere on this. So, I mean, you can go find hundreds of watermark tutorials out there to make the best watermark for you. So again, with the text, this is probably your biggest point of the video. you really want to make sure this is just really clean, really simple, really straightforward. Really just make sure that it gets into the viewer's head and that they're following it. And then that's pretty much it. The transitions, you can totally, so I'll show you how I do my transitions. I right click and I do new, solid. And then I make this thing. I'll then cut the clip. If you don't know how to cut or anything, it's Control-Shift-D. If you're like 100% new to After Effects, I would go watch a little bit of just like a tutorial. And again, if you're using CapCut, like, you're totally good to just cut the clips on CapCut. Like, CapCut's way easier than this is, and you should be able to figure CapCut out on your own. But as we go through here, so I do about 3 seconds on this transition, or 2 to 3 seconds, if that. And at the first, I do this a lot, the I, like for the first clip, go put it down to about 70. I don't know why. Oh, I'm doing it on the wrong clip. I'll do I, and you want to click T for opacity on After Effects CapCut. I'm sure it's just one of the settings in there. I put it to about 70, click this keyframe thing, click O to go out, and then put this all the way down to 0. This is where flow is really clutch. You don't have to have flow, like I said. There's another way to do graphs. I'm not sure how to do it. Again, that might just be something you could look up. I'm pretty sure it's this button right here in the bottom left kind of that it does in the graphs. You just want to make a graph that looks like this and then apply it. And then you should have something like this. I'll switch it. So just something like that. And then just go find like a camera flash sound effect, which is exactly what I have. And then just put it right as it starts and line them up. And that's how I do most of my transitions. And for an example of a transition, like this is the game last year. I want to cut to a new clip of these guys talking. So like that's where the transition hits right there. And then again, that's pretty much it. You just got to get your clips and your text. And that's the 2 biggest things. And then for my color correction, this isn't too big. You can find color corrections everywhere. It's a big one. I do it. This helps to avoid like unoriginal content strikes on TikTok, is if you just have like an overlay or a film damage, which is what I have. It makes it look a little bit better. And you can go find one of those anywhere. You just look them up on TikTok and someone will have a good one and you can find it. And then that is pretty much it for the editing part. I can go way more in depth to this if you guys want me to. I know that was pretty fast and it was coming from an experienced editor, so you may not understand everything. But if you need more help with After Effects, there's plenty of videos everywhere. And again, like if you're using CapCut, it's not as hard as this. You should be able to figure it out relatively quickly. And like I said, you can totally do this on CapCut too. It's not obviously going to be as good, but I have seen CapCut editors do really good with this strategy, so it could work as well. Okay, so now that we're done with like, the editing process and stuff like that, I just want to give you guys a couple tips from me. Like, I've been a creator for 4 years, so I know a lot of the tips and stuff like that. There's really not a best time to post in the day. I try to post more earlier in the day, but I've posted videos at 1 a.m. sometimes, and they'll be viral in the morning when I wake up. Some of the biggest tips I have is you have to do this consistently. Sure, your first video might be viral, but if you want to consistently be making a lot of money, you have to be posting very consistently. I post about 10 videos a month. It really helps, and just don't quit. Like, there's going to be times where, maybe you're not making as much, but you still will make some. And for like me, I was a big NBA creator, and I've started to move more into the NFL. NBA videos used to be way viral during the playoffs, and then during the off season, it kind of dies out a little bit. But if you just stay consistent, it really helps. Obviously, the movie edits, there's no timetable on that. Maybe if a new movie comes out, maybe that'll be bigger, more chance to go viral. And obviously, the number one thing is do not over edit. Like I said before, these viewers, they do not want to see all these shakes and stuff on there. So just keep it simple. So I hope this taught you guys a little bit about how to start making money through edits. It's worked for me. It's worked for a bunch of other people. Like I said, that event that I went to earlier, a bunch of people there that were consistently making $10,000 a month, even more. I'm hoping that I've just cracked the surface of what this could be. And comment your niche, comment any questions that you guys might have about this, and